If you like audiobooks or audio shows, check out a free trial of Audible. Just click the link in the description.
Welcome to MINDSHOCK True Crime. This is your host, Bruce McGuire.
And Sid Irwin.
And today we are tackling yet another wrongful conviction case in what is seemingly an endless pile of wrongful conviction cases in severe miscarriages of so-called justice across the United States. Today we will be delving into the case of Timothy Wright Jr., shocking wrongful conviction with conflict of interest written all over it. As always, if you like the podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. Make sure you allow your device to let those notifications come through. If you like the podcast, hit the like button. Feel free to share it across social media platforms. And you can check us out on Twitter, Reddit, and Patreon. Patrons do get priority for case or topic requests. And make sure to follow and like our Facebook page for exclusive updates and podcasts that will only be released on Facebook. All right, Sid, we've covered quite a few of these cases. You are, of course, the Mensa-minded Sid Irwin, putting your vast IQ to use in trying to dissect some of these cases and what went wrong, and why so many of these cases do not have proper investigations done, and then in the worst case, just outright corruption to the nth degree. That's obvious to anybody looking at the case objectively and logically. What are your thoughts so far in all these cases? Is there a common thread?
So far, with all the cases, I mean, definitely just with I won't say entirely just the system, but rather those enforcing it. I mean, the cops, just a part, those are part of it. It's the cops, the judges, the lawyers that are, especially the ones that are appointed to the defense of these men, or those who have listened so far. It's just been ridiculous with some of the things that they have done and gotten away with.
Well, don't forget the juries. I mean, the juries, hoodwinked or not, is there a responsibility on the part of the jury
Oh
to
yes, of course.
employ some logic, critical thinking, deductive reasoning, rational thought of some kind?
Thank you for bringing that part of it too, because even then, I can't lie. Three of one's peers, it just doesn't make sense either how they are just letting all of this happen, just go right over their heads. Makes me wonder if they're really committed to even actually hearing this case, or just trying to do their quote unquote civic duties.
Well, I don't know how we can kind of figure out how much of it is kind of a brainwashing by the prosecution and the judge versus, because do they really know? Like, it seems like they're putting their faith, like some kind of religious faith in the system that everything was done properly, instead of actually thinking about the evidence presented and whether or not it holds up to logical scrutiny. And of course, in certain cases, the jury is outright intimidated, if not, and threatened, if not hand selected, if not related to certain officers on the side of the prosecution, on the side of the state.
All very fair points.
So just real quick overview. Morse Investigation Services, so this happened in Virginia, they put out a really quick write-up on the case. Morse Investigation Services has been retained by Uncuff the Innocent, a nonprofit dedicated to freeing the wrongfully convicted, to look into the death of Justin Baumgardner and the potential wrongful conviction of Timothy Wright Jr. This case is of particular interest because justice simply was not served. Backroom handshakes, small town sheriffs, and the need to protect the deputy's son, so you can guess who the other suspect in this case here is, all add to the intrigue of this wrongful conviction case. Our intent with this and future blog posts about this case is to raise awareness and to hopefully turn up new evidence that may assist Tim gain a new trial. Here's what's weird to me, though. If the prosecution doesn't want to be seen as corrupt, the prosecution, the state, judges, all of these people, what's the problem with granting people a new trial? Like, why are they so... if all the evidence stands up that soundly, why not just give them a new trial, a fair trial, And then if he can be found guilty, I mean, that's what the justice system is for. It's, it's all for a fair trial and a speedy trial too, because justice delayed is justice denied.
Indeed, I wholeheartedly agree with you on that. My thoughts might be that potentially it could just be that they're afraid that if a new trial is performed, and again, if the person is exonerated for those for the crime that they were accused of, then that might bring up issues where they have to, especially for the prosecution, like and judge, I would believe, look into past cases themselves and see if there might have been any mistakes or mishandlings.
Yeah, a lot of this does come down to ego. People don't want to be wrong or incompetent, even though a vast majority are across all fields. So there's actually a really good documentary called Making an Exoneree, the story of Tim Wright, and this was done by 3 Georgetown students. Very good documentary, Making an Exoneree. Quite shocking. Like a lot of these wrongful convictions, when they kind of come to my attention, I just read a quick overview and I would never think the corruption is this extreme or the miscarriage of justice is this egregious, because in some of the other cases that we've covered, you can check those out on the podcast. We have Daryl Morris we covered recently, as well as Jermaine Scott. A lot of these cases, when you just read the quick overview of it, it's plausible that there were just either mistakes made or that they might still be guilty and it wasn't that egregious. But once you start going through the details of the case, it just keeps mounting the level of asininity involved in them being found guilty. I mean, even if they really are guilty, none of the evidence holds up. So how can it's so insane, which obviously anybody could be guilty of anything theoretically, but that's the opposite of how the justice system works. You have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. And what's weird is the people online are members of the public that defend these wrongful convictions. They say, "Oh, well, they were found guilty; they must be guilty." That is so insane because, like, it's like they have this. I mean, that's more insane than some devout religious followers who think their religion can never be wrong, no matter what. I mean, that's some Spanish Inquisition level thinking there. I mean, it's bizarre to me that people in the modern age just are that devoid of logic and reason that they can't even hypothesize that there might have been some either incompetence or corruption involved in some of these wrongful convictions.
I have to agree. That is ridiculous. Undoubtedly. I mean, even just beyond just even the lack of logic and reason, but even the empathy to even consider the potential and possibility of it.
So let's go through this from Tim Wright's own words. So this is directly from his website, innocence, the number 4, tim.com. He starts off with a very interesting Sam Adams quote. "It does not require a majority to prevail, but rather an irate, tireless minority keen to set brush fires in people's minds." So quite thought-provoking. "Why I need your help. I was arrested on May 6, 2008, and to this day I have proclaimed my innocence and continue to fight to prove my innocence. I was arrested for murder and was eventually charged with 1 count of first-degree murder and 1 count each of 3 firearms charges. I was arrested on the sole testimony of what later became my co-defendant, Justin M. Davis, even though his testimony changed 6 different times. Not once, not twice, not thrice, not quadrice or quintice, but sextice. Different times. And the police admitted to not believing all or part of that testimony." Wow. So not only did the testimony change 6 different times, the police did not believe the changing testimony, and yet this was the basis of his conviction, of his being convicted. What do you think so far, Say?
I mean, to put it simple, that's already shady right there.
"I was still arrested. I immediately knew that I was being framed for this crime to save Justin Davis. To better understand this case, you must know that Justin Davis was the son of Amherst County Deputy Sheriff Steve Davis, an officer in the same county where this crime occurred. Can you think of a more extreme conflict of interest than this? I don't like it's kind of bizarre, is it not?
I mean, it is without a doubt. I mean, one listening to this might just think to himself, this reeks of nepotism at some point, but yeah.
Yes, and we will get into the extreme shadiness associated with that as well. His father was instrumental in the first statement made to Amherst investigators regarding Justin Davis's pistol having gone missing. Then the next day, with his father's guidance, Justin changed his story, saying that his gun was stolen by me and that he witnessed me commit the crime while he was driving. Even though Justin Davis put himself at the crime scene, investigators only arrested me, and Justin was not arrested until nearly 4 weeks later. His arrest came only after the state police took over the case, and he made what were his third and fourth statements.
Okay, so yeah, this is I think the listeners out there can kind of see where all this is going now. So all you have to do if you happen to kill somebody, you just have to say who you want to frame just happened to steal your gun and you saw them do it. Is that's all that required to convict someone in the United States now?
That's ridiculous.
It's beyond bizarre. Okay.
Then the Amherst County prosecutor, Stephanie Maddox, stepped down from the case under suspicion, and special prosecutor Marcia L. Garst from Harrisonburg was appointed the case. Forensic evidence in the form of ballistics, DNA surveillance, fingerprints, trajectory, phone records, and the property were analyzed. Despite all of the evidence, nothing could be used to show my guilt, and in fact, most of it proved my innocence. As a result, the prosecutor turned to 4 individuals to use as snitches to bolster its non-existent case.
And of course, we've seen this across the board in many, many cases now where so-called snitches or other criminals are gotten by police to make false statements in exchange for whatever interests them, a more lenient sentence or whatever, or just possibly just threatening them because they know of more crimes they committed. I mean, there's CIs involved in some of these, and we'll probably do a dedicated podcast where we go over whether or not, or the percentage of which so-called snitches are proven correct versus proven incorrect and making false statements, because that's all very interesting, is it not? Because once again, trusting the words of humans on blind faith is very problematic if you're trying to look at anything logically or scientifically. I don't know why that's so difficult for many people to grasp. I mean, it's bizarre.
The prosecution and its snitches all denied giving or receiving benefits for their testimony. However, after years of fighting, I obtained evidence to the contrary. In fact, my case file was given to the prosecutor in one of the snitch's cases to presumably give that snitch case-sensitive information because I had never spoken to that individual.
Does that surprise you, Sid, that a prosecutor would give someone who's never even met this person? I mean, is this almost as shady as the Daryl Morris case, where somebody several cells down next to a loud fan somehow heard Daryl Morris confess, whereas his own cellmate or the guy next to the cell never heard anything and said he never talked about it?
Indeed, I can't even that. Just despicable. That.
Well, this is even worse because this is a prosecutor giving someone a case file to know information that wasn't public, which would lead credibility to a false snitch's statement against him.
Oh my!
We have to go over the evidence on how we found this out, that the case file was given, but we'll get to that.
Indeed.
One huge development was the discovery of the trajectory evidence in my case. When the investigators' measurements and photographs that were logged into their reports, they also notated that a trajectory analysis was done. However, to this day, it has never been released. I have affidavits and trial records where they denied its existence. This is critical because the crime is alleged to have happened on a narrow, one lane in either direction road where someone shot the victim, Justin Baumgartner, from another vehicle as both were driving down the road. What is significant is that the victim's low ride truck was much shorter than my lifted truck, the alleged vehicle used in the crime. Had a gun been fired from my truck, the trajectory would have been up to down. Instead, the police measurements show a trajectory of down to up or level. It is curious that the analysis of these measurements is clearly recorded in police reports, yet it has never surfaced and has been denied by both Amherst and state police investigators. Is your interest piqued yet, Sid?
That it is, truly.
Because what's bizarre is if you're doing a scientific evidence-based analysis of what is going on, would you not want that information? I mean, the details of the crime, how are you're going to deny the existence of the details? And what's weird here is the state police seem to have gone in on the fix. Because originally when the state police took over, they did arrest the deputy's son, or was that just to keep up appearances? To make them appear like they weren't corrupt like the local ones to cover for the deputy's son? I mean, we don't know. But now it's saying that both Amherst and state police denied even the existence of the measurements, which are in the original police reports.
Wow, that's horrible. 'Cause, I mean, to have evidence at one point that it magically disappears.
Well, supposedly it didn't even disappear. Supposedly these police reports still exist.
Huh.
So it's like, it's not only is it absolute, I mean, it's extreme corruption and incompetent. I mean, however you want to view that, whether it's just complete sheer incompetence or corruption or a mixture of both, most likely. But they didn't even bother to get rid of the original police reports, because normally, I mean, if you're doing a competent frame up, set up conspiracy, you would get rid of that, right?
Of course.
So let's continue. It should also be noted that the prosecutor specifically requested that casings collected at the crime scene and submitted for DNA testing not be tested. So the prosecutor is requesting that evidence not be tested. Have you ever heard of this happening before, Sidor?
No, I absolutely haven't. I mean, again, this is where most people like to place their faith in the system that everything is being handled and processed correctly. So you would think that if all evidence that was collected would, in fact, be processed, tested, and brought to the courtroom. No
Yeah,
matter what the
bizarre. I
result.
mean, if they're that convinced that this guy's the real killer, why are they so afraid of the evidence? The truth is not afraid of investigation. How many times do I have to say that? On MindShock, this is another mind-shocking case of corruption. All right, let's continue. On January 12th, 2012, I was able to secure an evidentiary hearing in regards to having the casings tested, which was denied. So he's... I mean, this is kind of bizarre. He's saying... he wants the evidence tested. Would a guilty person want the evidence tested, Sid? What do you think?
Honestly, I mean, this just sounds like a severe case of railroading right now, and I'm just really shocked by it.
Yeah, it's bizarre. It just keeps getting worse and worse. Okay. I would submit that stopping the DNA test had more to do with preventing a positive match for Justin Davis, which would have made framing me a difficult proposition. It also kept me from obtaining evidence that would prove my innocence. Both my trial and appellate attorneys were ineffective in their handling of my case, even as court-appointed attorneys. My trial attorney, Gregory Smith, did not prepare for the introduction of evidence he could not understand despite his admission of not understanding technology. Wow. So he's admitting he's an incompetent attorney and they still allow him to be the attorney?
Oh, wow. I mean, that's upsetting, but I imagine I'd be a prosecutor.
I mean, have you ever seen a more blatant instance of ineffective counsel? Because this counsel's not even pretending that they understand. Because normally they would at least pretend, right? Like they would.
I would like to think so.
I mean, this is absolutely bizarre. My appellate attorney, Grady Donaldson,
failed to submit an appeal that met the requirements of law and resulted in a granted in part state habeas corpus petition. So his appellate attorney doesn't even know the requirements of an appeal?
It's just upsetting.
And we're just getting started. This is beyond bizarre. Okay. His case, shouldn't his case be thrown out just based on ineffective counsel alone? Do we even have to get into anything else? We don't even have to. I mean, it's bizarre. Okay. There were a multitude of missteps, mishandling, witness intimidation, witness coercion, evidence tampering, and other police misconduct. The prosecutor was also complicit in the frame to save a cop's son 20 to 30 years. The record is rife with evidence and admissions of the mishandling. My first appeal to the Virginia courts was denied, and my first state habeas corpus was granted in part on one ground, resulting in a delayed appeal to the Virginia Supreme Court. I'll say it again, justice delayed is justice denied. After oral arguments on February 12, 2013, they denied my appeal, refusing to even address my first ground for appeal that could have resulted in an automatic reversal of my case. I then submitted my federal habeas corpus on March 15, 2013. However, the court denied the petition as untimely, not recognizing my belated appeal as my first properly positioned appeal and calculating my 1-year time limit from that date. I represented myself in the habeas corpus. Once again, justice delayed is justice denied. I don't think anybody could argue that there's a lot of delaying going on here. With every passing day, new information comes to light. Several individuals have come forward with new information, and evidence of my innocence continues to build. The greatest issue with most individuals who have information about my case is that they are fearful to go public with that information because of what the county may do to them. It is quite tragic that the victim, Justin Robert Baumgartner, was killed, but I did not commit this murder and am innocent of all charges. I desperately need your assistance in proving my innocence, and I hope you can be instrumental in this. Tim Wright Jr. All right. What do you think so far, Sid?
It's just gross misconduct. This is from what it sounds like. I mean, you told me you have prosecutors that are preventing evidence from being processed, which, for one, right there in of itself just makes no sense. That's just ridiculous. That's like almost unheard of. And in the case, like, especially if it's there, and then how, like you just said before, there's evidence that's like still exists clearly, but they're denying does exist, which is just odd. Like the whole reports about with the trajectory of the bullets, which I find key and important to explain a scenario.
Well, not just you. I think any individual who has any kind of semblance of logic or reason or desire for the truth would. I mean, this is also mind shocking.
I know. Also, not to mention the legal counsel that was to represent him just again just sound. I mean, I don't know where to say it. It's just an incompetent person. Just that's what it is, and it's ridiculous to hear. I mean,
I might posit that they might have been paid to be more incompetent or to appear dumber than they were, just because none of these officials wanted any of this to get out. So they might have slipped some of these attorneys. I'm not saying they did, but if they did, because are these people? I mean, I don't know, maybe not, because if the guy's flat out admitting he doesn't even understand any of this, if the attorney's admitting he doesn't understand, like what does that mean?
that doesn't make sense with it. And I mean, I can't lie. At least to me personally, if I was a judge, if I'm hearing this from the defense attorney, I almost want to be like, I'm sorry, I have to stop this and to give you a moment to find different counsel, because apparently this is not working for you.
Well, I would think any non-corrupt judge would probably have done that, right? I mean, isn't it their duty to do that?
I was like, because apparently if it's supposed to be, in a fair trial, to be judged by your peers, and I mean, I can't see that no longer being fair if the counsel you have is just, I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
No, it does not. And then, of course, Tim Wright does have an online petition.
Going to a boxing match, and you supposedly both have gloves, yet the other guy has like steel weights in his. So I mean, get hit by that once. What? It's ridiculous.
Well, I would say this is even more egregious than that. But of course, Tim Wright does have a petition online. Check the link in the description for the petition to open an investigation into the case and help Tim Wright. Okay, let's look at this. So this is a post by his brother, by Timothy Wainwright Jr.'s brother. He posted this on November 14th, 2008. So now this is already, so this guy's been in prison for over 10 years on this wrongful conviction, over a decade, and they won't even test the evidence. And all of this delaying and denying, it's just very, very egregious. But let me go over this post. Innocent man convicted of first-degree murder. On October 4th, 2008, my brother, Timothy Wainwright Jr., was found guilty of first-degree murder. Neither I nor my family has the money to hire a lawyer. I do not understand why justice is not being done. I thought even those in this country who cannot afford a lawyer have a right to justice. The evidences were abundant to show that he could not be placed at the scene of the crime. 1. Mr. Kenneth Gill, a fingerprint analyst, testified that the fingerprints on the casings found at the scene of the crime belonged to Justin Davis. Wow. Okay. 2. Mrs. Nicole Harold, a scientist, examined the DNA found on the black ball cap that was recovered at the scene of the crime and testified that the DNA was not the DNA of Timothy Wright. 3. The gun used in the killing of Justin Baumgartner belonged to Justin Davis. 4. The only eyewitness is Justin Davis, accusing Timothy Wright Jr. 5. Mr. James Finney, an inmate at the jail, testified against Timothy Wright and said that he heard him make an incriminating statement while in the jail church service on July 24th, 2008. Yet, the second in command of the jail in Amherst testified and explained how the church attendants are selected. The jail is divided into blocks. In each block, there are several cells. In each cell, there may be several inmates. Each week, only one block can attend the church service. Inmates from these cells may decide whether they desire to respond to the invitation of the minister to come or not. Mr. James Finney and Mr. Timothy Wright are not in the same block and therefore could never be in the same church service on any date given. You know what's weird though? If you're doing a frame up, you might not double check all of the rules and regulations, right? I mean, if you're doing a proper frame up, you would.
I agree.
But,
Just
yeah.
like I said, it's just sloppy.
Yeah. 6. Mr. R. Hudson, who was in the Lynchburg jail with Justin Davis, testified Davis said he killed Justin Baumgartner and framed Timothy Wright Jr. for it. Mr. Hudson also testified that the state police agent came to see him twice to discourage him to testify, telling him he did not have to testify, and that if he did and he was under oath and was found in a lie, he could have a longer sentence. Mr. Hudson said it scared him because the length of his sentence was brought up twice. But he decided to testify because he did not want to see someone innocent punished. Unfortunately, this was not enough. So they had tried to intimidate this guy into not testifying, and he testified anyway. So here's the thing that's important, like when dissecting all of this information, because if Timothy Wright Jr.'s family is very poor, they can't afford an attorney. I mean, obviously they can't afford to pay off jailhouse snitches, right? On the other hand, motive, means, and opportunity on the side of the state, the prosecution, and the police officers, they have a lot of leverage. They could either threaten the snitch to give him a longer sentence, try to pay him off, or suggest that they're going to try to make the sentence shorter. They have a lot of negotiating power here. What negotiating power would Timothy Wright Jr. or his family have in trying to get this snitch to testify on Timothy Wright Jr.'s behalf?
That is an intriguing thought right there. I wonder.
So again, obviously the words of humans, I mean, the whole justice system doesn't work on this. We're talking about beyond a reasonable doubt. Ultimately, it doesn't even really matter what any of these people say. What is the physical evidence? If there is none, why is this guy in prison?
I mean, even if he's guilty, why is he in prison if there's no actual evidence? It just doesn't make any sense. Okay. 7, a video expert clearly stated that the video provided by the Corner Country Market on 130 could not be used to make an accurate ID of a pickup truck seen in it. The color, make, length, height, and width of the truck were in question. It was also shown that the truck on the video had smaller tires and that Timothy Wright Jr.'s truck had larger tires. This video was then rendered non-conclusive. However, it continued to be used and dealt with as though it was conclusive. So I guess that means that the prosecutor kept stating, we have on video Timothy Wright Jr.'s truck, so he must have done it, or whatever, even though some grainy video where you can't make anything out. If you can't make any of this out in the video, why is it used as evidence? None of this makes any sense to me. Does any of this make any sense to you so far, Sid?
No, not at all. I mean, if the evidence provides absolutely really no real solid evidence, then why is it even there?
Very good point. Why did this even go to trial if there's no evidence? I mean, don't they normally not even go to trial if they don't have any actual evidence? Because what's the point? I mean, you're just wasting all this time, taxpayer money. Just doesn't make any sense.
Not as good as a witch hunt. That's what all this sounds like.
Yes, and if they're trying to save the deputy's son from going to prison. Okay, there were other testimonies which were found non-conclusive or doubtful due to the gain the person testifying may receive or had received in the past for giving jail information. We all wonder then, why was Timothy Wright Jr. found guilty? We may need to go back to May 3rd, 2008. A murder had been committed on Saturday night. On the crime scene were recovered shell casings, a black hat, and the testimony of neighbors hearing a firearm which indicated the time of the murder. Let me at this time mention that this account is written from the careful notes I tried to take in court. It is possible there may be errors, but this is, to my best knowledge, accurate and factual to the testimonies given under oath in court on October 1st to the 4th, 2008. I tried to stay objective and look at the evidences presented. This being said, on May 6, 2008, Justin Davis, the only eyewitness in this case, went to the Amherst County Police to say that he had been kidnapped and had watched Timothy Wright Jr. kill Justin Baumgartner. Automatically, I have reservations about this narrative. Okay, so this guy is saying Timothy Wright Jr. stole his gun, kidnapped him to let him witness him kill Justin Baumgartner and not kill Justin Davis. Because why would he not kill Justin Davis if he was really going to kill this other guy and stole his gun and didn't want to get caught? This is kind of strange. You would kidnap someone to let them witness you committing a crime. For what purpose? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Does this make any sense to you?
Not at all, unless this is some sort of sick, twisted game that they enjoy. I don't know.
That's a good point, I guess. I mean, is this a case like Stephen Avery? What if he has a split personality? His other personality is trying to get him caught? Is that like... But the state doesn't present that. If the state presented that, that would make more sense than what they are presenting. I mean, okay, anyway, let's continue here. Okay. Justin Davis, with the aid of his father, former Deputy Steve Davis, had reported his gun stolen on May 4th. No search warrants were served to search any of Davis's properties or belongings, but all of Timothy Wright Jr.'s properties and belongings were searched. The officer testified that he took Justin Davis at his word because he did not see any need to believe him and assumed Timothy Wright Jr. was guilty, even though the officer stated under oath in the trial that he did not believe Justin Davis had been kidnapped. So he just assumed person A was telling the truth and person A was guilty. Is the law based on assumptions? This is such a botched job of a case. It should have been thrown out immediately, even if this guy's guilty, which there's no evidence of. Oh, man. During the rest of the investigation, the information given to the press to report to the local newspapers and on television was done only to prove and present that Timothy Wright Jr. was guilty. This sounds exactly like the Stephen Avery case. Timothy Wright Jr. was not questioned first, simply arrested on Justin Davis's word. Because Justin Davis is the son of a deputy sheriff, there is an obvious conflict of interest. The Amherst Police Department needed to turn the whole case to the state police as soon as possible. It was indeed testified in court by the investigator that it is of crucial importance that a case is investigated as soon as possible and that the testimonies of the different people involved be questioned and double-checked to identify if there are any conflicts in their stories. I mean, this is all Investigation 101, and none of it was followed, so a lot of red flags here. Okay. Timothy Wright Jr.'s testimony never changed. He has always said he was not there at the scene of the crime. The defense attorney stated in court that the record shows that Justin Davis's stories had changed 6 times. Despite these conflicts of interest and the suspicious testimony of Justin Davis, the person in charge of the decision to turn this case to the state police chose to keep the case in the Amherst County Police for 12 days. During this time, while everyone in Amherst County was shocked about this horrible crime and anxious to find out information to settle their anxiety, the press and the TV reporters were only given information to print and broadcast by the Amherst Police Department, which had taken the position that Timothy W. Wright Jr. was indeed guilty till proven innocent. And we see this a lot in these wrongful conviction cases. Everybody's presumption of innocence is violated in these cases because he's innocent until proved guilty in a court of law, not said to be guilty by random humans, many of which have reason to lie. All quite bizarre. Almost no negative information about Justin Davis was given. This left the entire population's opinion in the total influence of the press. The damage is inestimable and very serious, for the jury is chosen from the population. After the state police got involved, their jurisdiction was to investigate and further research Timothy Wright Jr.'s assumed guilt. The chief investigator of the state police in this case testified in court that it was not his responsibility to investigate the Amherst County Police and the way this case had been handled. His job was to continue his search on Timothy Wright Jr. That's weird. I thought his job was to make sure justice was done and the truth was found out. That's weird. And to follow the actual letter of the law. This is all quite bizarre. His job was to make a case that had Timothy as the guilty party. How can this whole situation be seen as fair and just? Does anyone have a chance at a fair trial when the jury is selected from a county where the crime has taken place and whose inhabitants have been influenced by the press for months in the way I described earlier? The only conclusive and identifiable evidence linking Timothy Wright Jr. to the crime was the testimony of Justin Davis. What can be done? Who will have the courage to help? What other information still needs to be revealed? I have chosen not to print many names because the purpose of my article is not to expose and blame. I am grateful for the order we enjoy in our free land of the United States of America, where everyone is protected by the truth that one is innocent till proven guilty. Timothy W. Wright Jr. was denied this right and protection in our country. Can his situation change? Please help if you can, whether you have been involved in the case or you have information which could shed some light and hope for a man who was found guilty only because he was perceived and treated as guilty, which I believe manipulated the decision of the jury, even though no evidence was found that he was at the scene of the crime. All these facts and mishandling of the situation were not revealed, seen till in court, and this turned out to be too late for him. He is now facing imprisonment for his entire life. It has been estimated that more than 10%, possibly 15% of those in prison are innocent. I mean, there's different organizations making different estimates. I believe even the lowest estimate is what, 1% or 2%, which is insane considering the amount of people, millions of people in prison. Isn't that insane?
It goes without saying, yes. Yes, yes.
Many are convicted because of incompetent counsel. Many are framed by the police and or prosecutors. In many cases, the judges and defense attorneys are involved in the wrongful convictions. These percentages also carry enough death row prisoners and those who have been executed. What is needed? 1, an investigation by the FBI into all cases where there is a chance that evidence was tampered with, fabricated, and or concealed in order to convict the innocent person. 2, investigation into cases where collusion between the police, prosecutors, defense attorneys, and or judges in order to convict a person who is or may be innocent. 3, legislation to make these cases, items 1 and 2, federal crimes with suggested sentences that will make the perpetrators of these crimes serve as much or more time in prison than those who they had wrongfully convicted. I think everybody could agree with that, right?
Wholeheartedly, I could. I'll be honest with that myself right now.
4, upon the presentation of evidence and determination that a wrongful conviction may have occurred, and new trial will be carried out in the federal courts if the case was originally on the state, or a different federal judge and prosecutor if it was a federal case, and those who were involved will be investigated and prosecuted. These are all very reasonable points. I don't know why anybody would disagree with this, because if the county's corrupt, the state's corrupt, these individuals are corrupt, if they have a retrial with the same corrupt people, how would justice be served in that case? 5, the wrongfully convicted person shall be allowed to sue the parties involved, including the government agency, for wrongful prosecution and for monetary damages to be determined by a jury, including attorney's fees, loss of income, and mental anguish. 6, since the wrongfully convicted are mostly minorities and poor whites, the civil rights laws should apply. Civil rights are being denied to the minorities and or the poor because they are minorities and or poor. Their rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are being denied. These wrongful convictions are not only a miscarriage of justice, but also a disgrace to our American justice system. There is a lot of money made from the corruption in our justice system and our prison system. A full-scale investigation of the system is not only warranted, but it is imperative to make the system truly a justice system instead of an injustice system. And there's one of the replies here brings attention to a blog, bearingfalsewitness.blogspot.com. And right at the top here, we have research done by D. Michael Reisinger, professor of law at Seton Hall, indicates that 3.3 to 5% of those convicted of crimes are factually innocent. Some may have estimated 130,000 to 260,000 American inmates did not commit the crime they've been convicted of. So that's crazy. That's crazy. Again, why would people take the words of humans on blind faith as gospel truth? Whatever happened to physical evidence? Whatever happened to beyond a reasonable doubt? It's like the laws are all there. I'm not sure you would need to change the laws that much, right? I mean, the laws are all there. It's just nobody's following them.
I can't even. I just, I'm almost speechless. Just hear all this. It's odd. But
there actually wasn't even a ton of media on this, particularly national media, and I'm sure that's the way they wanted it, right? Kind of like the Stephen Avery case. Nobody ever expected them to make a documentary about it and kind of get it all out in the public because it's kind of obvious. But here's an article. This was May 22nd, 2008, in the Richmond Times-Dispatch. Amherst deputy's son charged with murder. Okay, by Carrie J. Seidener and Chris Dumond. An Amherst County's deputy's son, who initially told authorities he was abducted by an Amherst man accused of murder, has been charged with murder himself. Justin Davis, 25, is held without bond in the Blue Ridge Regional Jail, charged with first-degree murder. Davis is son of Amherst County Sheriff's Deputy Steve Davis. He was arrested today at the Isaac Walton League Campground in Amherst County. Authorities had already arrested 21-year-old Timothy Wayne Wright Jr. on charges including murder and abducting Justin Davis in the death of 19-year-old Justin Baumgartner. A search warrant filed by the Amherst County Sheriff's Office identified Justin Davis as a witness to the murder, stating he told investigators he was with Wright when Baumgartner was shot. According to the search warrant, Davis said the handgun that killed Baumgartner was stolen from him. 2 new search warrants today, filed in relation to Davis's arrest, were sealed by Circuit Judge J. Michael Gamble yesterday and today. Amherst County's Commonwealth Attorney Stephanie Maddox said she asked for Gamble to appoint a special prosecutor to handle the charges, and he agreed. We're off the case, Maddox said. Maddox asked Rockingham County Commonwealth's attorney Marcia Garst to take the case, according to a state police news release. Garst was asked police and other parties in the case not to talk to media to avoid prejudicing a potential jury pool. I guess it was too late for that. So the trial would not need to be moved from Amherst County, according to the release issued by Virginia State Police Lieutenant Joseph Rader. Bumgardner was found dead in his pickup truck in a driveway off Elon Road the morning of May 4th. Authorities have said they believe Bumgardner was shot the previous night. So I'm guessing that must mean whoever shot him planted his truck in someone's driveway, which is bizarre. And then also, we haven't gone over the backstory here, which is also quite tragic. So he was also denied bond when he was facing his murder charge. So this was published June 12th, 2008. This is an article by Aaron Lee. Amherst County man facing murder charge denied bond. Justin Davis was denied bond Thursday. He faces a first-degree murder charge in connection with the death of 19-year-old Justin Baumgartner. Authorities arrested Timothy Wainwright Jr., 21, 2 days after Baumgartner was found dead in this pickup truck in a driveway off Elon Road the morning of May 4th. Okay. According to a search warrant, Davis told police he was with Wright when Baumgartner was shot, and that Wright stole his Cobra 380 semi-automatic handgun used in the shooting. The gun has not been recovered, so they do not have the murder weapon. Wright was initially charged with abducting Davis, the son of Amherst County Sheriff's Deputy Steve Davis. That charge has since been dropped. So they couldn't prove the kidnapping charge, but they still accepted the testimony, even though there was no proof that Wright Jr. was there, because they couldn't prove the kidnapping. So how do they prove that the witness to the crime was even there if Wright Jr. was even the murderer? Because let's say Wright Jr. is the murderer. If there is no kidnapping, there is no witness to the murder. Does any of this make sense to you? Are you awake, Sid Irwin? Sid Irwin?
I am here. Listen.
So they dropped the kidnapping charge. So if there's no evidence of the kidnapping, how can they take the word of the man who's alleging he was kidnapped if there's no evidence of even a kidnapping? And yet they're accepting his word that he witnessed a murder. Because if Timothy Wright Jr. really is the murderer, Davis wasn't there, so how could they accept his word? If they can't prove he was there, how can they accept his word? It doesn't make any sense.
Again, this is just sloppy work. If someone's trying to do a frame job, it is just completely sloppy. And especially by, again, like you said, I mean, if you're trying to tell me that they're trying to state that someone was there, was kidnapped, yet there's no sign or evidence whatsoever to prove otherwise. Again, making claims like that is just ridiculous.
Okay, so here's an article that kind of goes over the backstory, which is a love triangle. Okay, this was published the News Advance. This is October 4th, 2008. Wright contradicts testimony against him. Defendant denies love triangle shooting man. This was by Chris Dumond. Okay, Amherst. Defendant Timothy Wright Jr. testified Friday in the third day of his murder trial to contradict 2.5 days of testimony against him by taking himself out of the love triangle prosecutors claim was the motive behind the slaying. Wright, 22, is accused of chasing down and shooting 19-year-old Justin Baumgartner on May 3rd as he fled a southern Amherst County park where the two men are alleged to have had an argument over Nicole Turpin, a then 17-year-old girl they had both allegedly dated. Wright is charged with first-degree murder, shooting at an occupied vehicle, shooting from a vehicle, and use of a firearm in the commission of a felony. In earlier statements and testimony, Commonwealth's attorney Marcia Garst used a phone call from Turpin to Wright that day, letting him know she'd be meeting Baumgartner in the park that night as the point where Wright's jealousy turned to homicidal rage. Okay, Timothy Wright Jr., charged in the murder of Justin Baumgartner, testified Friday that he didn't have an argument with the victim the night he was killed and wasn't involved in a love triangle that prosecutors claim was the motive. So there's all these, it's kind of weird how they're alleging what was in the phone call if they don't know what was in the phone call, right? So just because someone makes a phone call doesn't mean you can just say that they were mad. I mean, it's kind of weird, right? So, okay. In this article in Lynchburg News Advanced, Davis said Wright, a Marine and an Iraq War veteran. So we didn't actually mention that earlier. So yeah, Wright Jr. is a Marine and an Iraq War veteran. So this is the words of Davis. This is what Davis is alleging. He had bragged about killing women and children and raping them, and told him dead witnesses don't talk while he was driving the truck away from the shooting scene. But you know what's weird? If dead witnesses don't talk, why wouldn't he have killed Davis?
When I respond, like, just say that I just really can't help but say anything else. It's like, it's just whole scenario just I think should just be, this is retarded.
But you know what's weird though is that if Davis is saying that Wright is saying dead witnesses don't talk, does he not realize how silly that sounds? Because he would have killed Davis, right? Because if he killed Baumgartner and he has no problem killing people, why would he have not killed Davis? Unless he's saying that this Marine and Iraq War veteran is so incompetent and Davis is some kind of superhuman that can get away anytime he wants, even though he was kidnapped. How does this make any sense?
Listen,
And the police already stated that they did not believe that Davis was kidnapped. So investigators also said that Baumgartner had no connection to the address of the driveway that he was found in. Davis testified that he didn't mention anything about the incident until May 5th when he told his father, Deputy Steve Davis, that his pistol had been stolen. And so here's what Wright uncovered is that Davis actually called his father 11 to 12 p.m. Saturday night and talked to him while at McDonald's. Okay, you know what's weird though? So he didn't tell his own father, who's a deputy,
exactly.
that he was kidnapped and he witnessed a murder. He only told him that his pistol had been stolen.
And how long until you decided to give him that information exactly?
So, well, May 3rd is the alleged date of the shooting, and Baumgartner was found the morning of May 4th.
Right.
And this is alleged to have happened. He called his father on May 5th.
2 days later, after what would be the alleged crime had occurred.
I guess getting kidnapped and watching people murder people is just, I mean, is that, I guess Davis doesn't think that's weird, but he thinks someone stealing his pistol is weird.
Oddly, apparently, I mean, even then, I would think at some point people would do a better job of keeping firearms, taken care of. I mean, the only 2 days later, you're recognizing, oh my God, my gun is gone. Like,
Okay, none of this story really makes any sense. So Ernest Turner, an Amherst County inmate serving time for driving suspended, I'm guessing driving with a suspended license, they hoodwinked this guy, testified that Wright tried to hire him to kill Davis just a few hours after being jailed. But why didn't he just kill him himself if he could kidnap him at any time? Doesn't make any sense. Okay, Garst, the prosecutor, showed the court a map she said Wright had drawn showing directions to Davis's home at the Walton campground. And so Wright's response to this was that he drew this map for his lawyer before he knew that Justin Davis would be arrested. And he said also he didn't do it. So that's kind of weird though. So the prosecution took a map that Wright had drawn for his own lawyer. Isn't that covered under attorney-client privilege?
it is. I mean, it's up to the defense to bring that to light. Like,
Not to mention, it looks like they knew exactly what it was for, and they intentionally misrepresented it. Who's gonna draw a map to go kill? I don't know. This whole thing is weird.
It doesn't make sense. I mean, I can't imagine a person who just allegedly just killed somebody, and then again, like you said, if they already know that what they like, why not kill them then at that point when they probably would have clearly had the best opportunity?
Why would he think?
Why would he think someone driving? Okay, it's not like this person's a hitman. They're in jail.
Yeah.
They're in jail for driving with a suspended license, and all of a sudden, this guy's saying that Bumgardner said that this other guy who he killed had no business messing with his girlfriend. So he's admitting to murder to some guy who's in for a suspended license and trying to hire him to kill another guy.
It doesn't make sense.
Oh man, this is bizarre. Turner said that Wright's story changed frequently. First, Wright would tell him Davis was responsible and was setting him up. Then he'd say he was only shooting at Bumgardner's car and that his killing was an accident. Both men are jailed without bond. Wright is held at the Amherst jail. Davis has been held in Lynchburg. Okay. This is yeah, this none of this is making any sense. And once again, there wasn't really that much media about this in the first place.
I imagine it wouldn't get this much media coverage. I mean, if this is brought, to like the light or I was gonna say the large stage. I mean, I imagine more people would have picked this apart far quicker. I mean, it's just obvious that this is just such that's just a mess.
I mean, they have no murder weapon and no physical evidence. What is going on? It's bizarre, and they don't test the. It's rough.
And again, as you put it, I mean, you have one of your witnesses changing their story up 6 various times. I mean, that doesn't make sense. That's just ridiculous. And yet they want to stick with the original testimony that they gave, despite anything else said afterwards.
I mean, there's no proof. It's kind of bizarre. And also, supposedly Gamble, the judge, said that statements about halting the DNA testing were filed in advance of the trial.
Wow. I wonder if they may have already known that.
Also, Steve Davis, so the deputy, he said that he didn't even report his son's stolen pistol, even though he believed it could have been used in the slaying. The elder Davis resigned from the sheriff's office before the trial and later went to work for the Nelson County Sheriff's Office. Here's the thing, though. Justin Davis pleaded guilty in December 2008 to second-degree murder and is serving a 15-year term. So he's in prison?
Is that what it sounds like?
But how did... So people think they both killed this guy? Well, I don't get it.
It's like, hell, I'm a bit confused myself hearing this.
Yeah, like I said, there's really not a ton of information even available because, I mean, this was an article by, it was Chris Dumond again, who seems to be one of the only people writing on this case. There's not that many articles on the case. This article is from 2012, January 12th, 2012. And it says that Justin Davis pleaded guilty in December 2008 to second-degree murder and is serving a 15-year term. So they're both in prison, according to this, unless he's already out or that is inaccurate information. So something weird happened here, or a lot of weird things happened. Very mind-shocking across the board. So they don't believe, so they think just second degree. So I guess they're thinking that both of these guys killed that guy?
Potentially so.
But I'm going to have to go to bat for Justin Davis here, too, because if there is no murder weapon, what did they have that belongs... Oh, they had his fingerprints. If they had his fingerprints, then Justin Davis... Yeah, that's a piece of evidence against Justin Davis. Also, why did they suppress... If this guy's in prison anyway, why did they suppress all that? So they want to keep... They want to get... So if Justin Davis is the guy that killed Bumgardner, they want him in prison, but they also want Timothy Wright Jr. in prison. Why? So they don't look stupid? I mean, this whole thing is weird. If this is actually... This might be a semi-intelligent way to cover their tracks, right? Because they're like, oh, well, this guy is in prison, so it's not like... But, it is... Yeah, it's so weird, though. All of it's so weird.
I mean, with the power that they gave to testimonies and to that effect, I mean, wasn't also put as that Wright had said not only was it Davis's gun, but he had shot and accidentally killed the victim. Or linked to that effect that would constitute for a second degree.
All right, we'll be going even deeper into this case and examining the pieces of evidence gone over in trial and other various people involved in the case. This was just the lead in, but clearly there are many, many unanswered questions that we'll have to get to in this egregious miscarriage of justice. I guess some people might think that they were both responsible and they both wanted to sell each other out. Possibly. I don't know, but then why seal it? None of it makes any sense because why seal any of the evidence? Yeah, unless there was a plan to try to get Justin Davis out of it. And that's why they sealed all the evidence. And then something got botched and they decided to not care about him at that moment.
It's a valid theory.
Although, I mean, it still doesn't make, and then nobody wants to point to the complicity of the initial corruption in trying to get Justin Davis off, which is why they decided to just put a cap on the whole thing. But if Timothy Wright Jr. was elsewhere and his alibi checks out, I mean, these are all things we'll be going over in the next episode. So make sure you tune in for that. So thank you for joining us for another edition of MindShock True Crime. If you like the podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. If you like the podcast, hit the like button. Feel free to share it across social media platforms. Any questions, comments, theories, leave them in the comments section. And you can check us out on Twitter, Reddit, and Patreon. Patrons do get priority for case and topic requests. And like and follow our Facebook page for exclusive updates. Any final thoughts, Sid Irwin?
Yes, I just like to I look forward to that next episode to delve deeper into this I guess mystery of how much insanity can be committed in this single level of misconduct of this case.
Well, at the very least, why not have a fair trial? I mean, it's all very mind-shocking. This is Bruce McGuire signing off.
And Sid Irwin.
We'll catch you guys next time.